now with a new mascot. Froot Loops is one of those ones that I know they've changed a few of the flavors and colors within the past year, and I know it's gone back and forth. Like, I don't think Froot Loops is like, oh yeah, and they do look much more natural color than they used to be. Now the variety of colors in Froot Loops has always been a little bit of a deceiving situation. Like, here's an orange one. As far as I know, it's a generalized fruit flavor. There's no difference between orange and, say, purple. There might be, but who knows? Maybe that's just the flavor of the food coloring itself. So yeah, this is the one that I was somewhat concerned about its placement within this tasting experience, because I do think that it has more of a kind of firm, distinctive flavor, and so then its impact on my experience of the final one, Frosted Flakes, will be somewhat interesting. But so we've got Froot Loops here. The flavors, or the colors rather, the colors are more kind of rustic, a little bit more muted than I remember, a little bit more natural looking. So it could be that they're using more natural food coloring than they used to. So to just contrast that, I'm adding some of this white milk in there. See that? Yeah, you've got a definite, just like generic fruity smell to it. Which, in contrast to the corn pops, I feel as though with the addition of the milk, the fruit characteristics are a lot more muted now. Like, I don't, tasting this, I don't really taste the fruit as much as I smell that quite tart aroma. In some ways, it's the least kind of definable of where it sits in parallel to the rest of the food world. Like, I very much see the Rice Krispies as being sort of like a bowl of rice, or like quite similar to having rice pudding or something, just different texture. Corn Pops, I was impressed by how much it reminded me of like popcorn or cornbread today upon having it. This, like, I guess you could say, oh, it's sort of, with the addition of milk, it almost becomes like some sort of bread or muffin, like a pastry with fruit in it. But with this toucan, they're kind of implying a more tropical element. So I'm not quite sure. It's almost more, in some ways, like the closest flavor profile for Froot Loops is like a cocktail, which would very much be consistent with this process of kind of distilling the larger format of the cereal boxes into these miniatures. This is like that condensed elixir where you can really experience the heart, the spirit of these very cereals. But it is a bit more of a confusing flavor, texture, experience than the others. It is almost more like having I don't know, maybe with the crunch, it's like a blended margarita or something like that. And I guess this is Sam. Now it's interesting, this is one of those things where growing up, I don't think I was aware that Froot Loops was spelled in a stylized way with these two O's. And I wonder at what point did they decide to make Froot Loops O's as opposed to say like a corn pop flavor or a corn pop shape. Like that might be more evocative of a piece of fruit than these circular loopy things. So which came first? Was the notion of spelling fruit differently to claim some sort of title, like some sort of copyright branding title? Was that the root of having these O's? Because I guess this is Kellogg's quintessential O cereal. In some ways, the Froot Loops seems like a very calculated gesture to essentially highlight how boring Cheerios are. However, yeah, Froot Loops, the first grain listed, so the first ingredient after sugar is whole grain corn flour, then wheat flour, then oat flour, then corn bran. So it's largely a corn-based cereal, which I think is quite reflective of Kellogg's in general, as opposed to Post, who makes Cheerios, and I'm not sure if that was who initially made Cheerios, but Cheerios being an oat-oriented cereal, which I think ultimately is much better. In terms of its origins, certainly not as exciting. No, tasting the milk alone, that fruit flavor really isn't all that present, I don't think. It's more like the aroma of the Froot Loops is where the fruit elements, especially those citrus notes, really reside, which in some ways kind of highlights its similarity to cocktails.